Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Hello everybody! Welcome again to our Seniors and Intergenerational Healthy Lifestyle Community Program. And I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this before. Today is going to be our 5th episode, our 5th and our last episode. Of course, it features myself and it features Dr. Shannon as well. Dr. Shannon, come say hi to everybody. You're gonna have to squeeze in here.
Hey!
Okay, so I'm going to be going over awesome summaries. We're going to talk about everything we've talked about for the past 2 months. And Dr. Shannon here is going to go over a whole bunch of exercises with you at the very end, get your blood flowing, and hopefully give you all the tools you need to keep up with this lifestyle.
See you in a bit.
Cheers. Okay, so let me just switch up our view here. Great. So, like we mentioned, we've had 5 episodes in the past. Today is our 5th day. And what we're going to go over is pretty much putting everything together. And, you know, it's been quite the journey together. I mean, we started off by talking about the general concept of health and what it means to be healthy. And we're going to touch on that today. Then we started talking about different kinds of pain in the neck, in the mid-back, the low back, knees, hips, ankles, elbows, wrists, all of that. After that, we moved on to start talking about mental health and mental well-being as we age, as well as diet and mindful eating. Today, what I hope to get through is talking to you about how to put it all together, ways to just start. I know that we've been talking and hammering certain ideas, and we're going to do it again today on what to do and how to, take those first few steps in taking care of your health and just turning a new page and just trying your best to enjoy every single day that passes, whether you're 20 years old, 80 years old, 100 years old, or 30, it doesn't matter. All of these different concepts apply and they matter so much to us. Health is valuable, and I hope that today, on our final session this year, we can really just drive home a really good motivational start for all of you guys to just go. So, a little bit about ourselves. Again, my name is Daniel Dimitri, Dr. Daniel. I'm a chiropractor. Before becoming a chiropractor, I took a pretty big interest in neuroscience, kinesiology, just the general concept of movement and wellness. And at the time of my undergraduate studies, I did 2 years of research in concussions and different kinds of brain injuries as well. And that kind of just one thing led to another and got me into being a chiropractor. Growing up, I had a grandmother who also wasn't able to walk, and I've always wanted to do something involved with giving somebody or helping somebody reach a point where they can be independent and live that lifestyle that they always hoped they would. Dr. Shannon Webster is also a chiropractor. She studied in New York Chiropractic College, and as well she did a bachelor's of kinesiology. Many years prior to that, she was a professional ballerina, a good dancer. She was competitive, and her curiosity for movement and love for kinematics in general led to this road as well. So we hope that we can give you the best possible quality of information and distill any kinds of fears and debunk any myths for you. And hopefully by the end of this 5th session, if you even scroll back and look at our old lessons as well, you will feel like there is a lot left for you to do, a lot left for you to go, a lot left to explore with your own bodies in terms of fitness and activity and well-being and independence and just enjoyment and just absolute love for this life and everything else. So, as always, I always bring this up now. Movement is a sign of life. It gives us life. It's just like the opposite. Being stagnant, which means to not move, has the opposite effect. Oftentimes, we can say death. I don't like using words like that because it doesn't really help us step forward or propel forward as much as talking about how valuable movement is for us as life-giving. You know, whether it's movement in general in terms of physical body movement, or if it's movement from the sense of, you know, intellect or academics or diet or relationships, spirituality. If we are still, if we are stagnant, that's normally when we run into a lot of issues. I gave the example of, you know, an animal, a pet. If you've ever had a pet, a dog, a cat, a bird, it doesn't matter. If you see them get hurt, you know, they get a cut or they fall or they hurt themselves, they don't stop moving, even if they're injured. They know that the way that they can get better is to start moving more. But when you see a pet or an animal not move, that's really when you start to worry and you start to wonder, you know, should I take them to a vet? Are they okay? And the same applies to us. Movement is so valuable. And we're going to learn that right here. So, this man is incredible. And you may have seen him. You may recognize him. His name is Fauja Singh. He's a person from the UK. And if you were to guess his age, maybe you already know, but he was born in 1911. That makes him 109 years old. He's also a marathon runner. He's still running. He recently retired from competitive marathon running, and I don't have any words to describe how incredible his accomplishments have been in the past couple decades and before that. But before I get ahead of myself, why don't we watch a little video about Fauja Singh. They call him Baba Fauja Singh as a form of respect, as kind of like father. Okay, so just give me a moment here, and we're going to pull up an awesome video. What I'm going to do here is narrate for you, so I'm just going to read exactly what it says, just so that we can read it together, because the texts are going by pretty quick. So here we go. He's 109 years old. He's from the UK, but he's been all over the world. So he's more than 109 years old, and he's still keeping fit. Born in 1911, Fauja Singh was around when New Delhi was being built, and this was a big deal historically. When freedom fighters led the fight for the Indian Revolution, and when the world shifted into a new millennium, you know, he was around. He became pretty well known in the UK. So he became a marathon pro in his 90s and 100s. But running isn't really how it all started, right? It wasn't always his passion. like, can we just take that in for a second? This man who, like, when people are usually 6 feet under, is running marathons competitively. And just for anybody here who doesn't know how long a marathon is, a marathon is 42 kilometers in length. And originally, I don't remember the specific geographic location, but in the ancient Greek days, there was a messenger, and his name was Marathon. And he delivered, I believe, a very valuable message from Crete to Athens by foot. He ran there. And he did it all in one run, one day. It was critical for a war effort. And it pretty much saved Athens from a major issue. Now, obviously, at the time when he actually arrived, he got apparently right to the front door of where their democratic parliament is, pretty much, and he died at the steps. But the guy, barefoot, ran 42 kilometers. So in honor of that athlete, this is dating back 2,500 years in the past or older, they named the 42-kilometer run a marathon. And now, when somebody says they run marathons competitively or they run marathons, they're running 42 kilometers minimum. If it's a half marathon, then it's 21 kilometers, etc. So it's not something that's easy. It's doable, but hard. Now let's put this into perspective. He was called Danda growing up, which in Sikh it means visibly frail or brittle person is what it means. I was actually speaking to a patient of mine today about what this word means. So he couldn't walk when he was 5 years old. Let's keep watching. So in 1995, 85 or 84 years later, he started running. So his wife passed when he was 81, and he thought that he would go as well. Again, in 1994, his son, I was 1 year old at the time, him and his son were trying to repair a roof during a monsoon, which is a huge rainstorm, like the kind that tears roofs off of homes. And a big sheet metal passed by, and in front of him, decapitated his son. He went into a pretty dark place after that. In one of his interviews, you could watch, and he talks about it. But the next thing that he did is pretty magnificent. So his oldest son, he went to London, found a community, and he ran with them. He's the fastest male to run 5 kilometers over 100 years old. I didn't even know that was a record. One more thing. So, 20 years ago, in 2001, Singh decided to break a record previously made by another senior. So, what I want you to notice here is he's the spotlight right now. It's awesome, but there's people doing this, and he's out to break a record that someone else already had that was over 90 years old. And he beat it. He beat it by almost an hour. But that's cool and all, but even just thinking that other world records were held by other people over the age of 90 running 42 kilometers, it says a lot. So in 2011, he came to Toronto. First 100-year-old person to complete 42 kilometers. That's just pretty cool. That's his footprint. So his last race competitively, right? Like for setting records and
ਆਪਣੀ ਤੰਦਰੁਸਤੀ ਦੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਛੱਡੀ ਆ ਮੈਂ ਕੋਈ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਛੱਡੀ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਤੇ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਵੀ ਆ ਗਾਵਾਂ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਮੈਂ ਦੌੜ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਮੈਂ ਕਾਹਦੇ ਛੱਡ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਆ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦਾ ਦੋਵੇਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ
that's his hometown. So, let's bring it back. There's a lot there, wasn't there? So did you catch that last part there? That Fauj is saying currently he's back home in India and he wants to go back to the UK. Obviously there's flight restrictions, and the reason he wants to is because he feels like there's a lot left for him to do. And he wants to accomplish it there. And of course he has a network and family built there, and he wants to be with those that he's networked around. Just for a second, take a step back and see what drives a person like this, who at a young age couldn't even walk. 5 years old is not too young to be able to have a pretty decent amount of emotional intelligence, to be able to understand language and bullying from kids and students and listening to others and seeing why kids your age 3 years ago could start walking and you couldn't. Somebody started off like that, had a whole life, built a family after that. Eventually, of course, he overcame those issues. After tragedy and watching your own child die before you, which can happen at older ages, he decides to start marathon running and turn some new leaf in his life, and something helped push him and gave him like grace or happiness. So bearing that in mind, it's the attitude as people age. You know, I never want you to get me misunderstood. I'm not saying that if you're 90 years old you gotta beat your chest and go to the club and go lift 500 pounds at the gym. If you want to and you can, go for it. But what I'm trying to say is there should not be any kind of barrier before you that you cannot think of a way to overcome. The same fire and burn that we all have or had should stay. And it comes from many places. That passion, that drive, that desire, that deep burning will to go forth and do as much as you possibly can with your given hands. So I hope that was a little inspiring. Please look him up and learn a little bit more. So always reminds me that we're not here to tell you how to live long and live as long as possible, but we're trying to talk about living healthy for as long as possible. Does that make sense now? living healthy for as long as possible is more than just eat this diet, exercise twice a day, do this, do that, move here, eat that, sleep at this hour, wake up. It's about life, being in constant motion, being in movement, being in constant desire and burn to live and be healthy as you do it for as long as possible. Because the longer you're here, the longer I'm here, the longer we have more opportunities to help others, to make difference, to grow, to affect others on a day-to-day basis, on an individual level, and on a grand scale. Every single day that we are capable, we affect others, even when we don't know it. Maybe that could help make you want to push for a happier and healthier physical, mental, emotional, spiritual life, and all of that. So we're going to look at that again. What does it mean to be healthy? Well, physical activity is a component of being healthy. Healthy physical active life, physically active life. Healthy, our spirituality, having any kind of relationship, whether, it's for our faith or just having that area staying in motion and not stagnant. Same with our nutrition, our mindful eating, our moment by moment intake of food as not just fuel and not as just nutrients that could be turned into numbers that we log or as filler so we survive, but more as once again appreciating these gifts that we have and having it play a very valuable and vital role in our lives. Always having an appetite and a taste for it. And if you don't, there's so many ways to get it back. And if we rewind back to last session, we talked about mindful eating and knowing, appreciating the smell of food, appreciate how it makes you feel. And if it doesn't make you feel something, how does it feel when you eat something or when you're hungry or, getting an idea for the texture of the food you're eating and talk about it and share those ideas with others and how the smell is like and how it feels after you eat it, how full you feel, and really being able to have a good idea of what eating feels like and putting it into words and sharing it with others and having healthy discussions. Those kind of things is what makes mindful eating a very healthy habit and practice. Healthy. We're also talking about condition management, whether somebody has injuries or limitations from like a fall or a broken bone or a strain of a muscle or a very tired neck. That also plays a role in what it means to be healthy. But it doesn't take over the general meaning of health. Just because somebody has diabetes, for example, doesn't mean that they won't live healthy for as long as possible. It means that they have a condition that they can just modify certain things in their life and be as intentful as possible about making the environment and your internal environment as conducive as possible to grow continually, to be happy. Our relationships and our cognitive stability play a major role in what it means to be healthy. So remember last day we talked about intent and how this graphic here shows a gentleman who got up on a ladder and he pretty much broke the old sign and drew his own sign of what it means to have intent. And intent describes something very valuable to us, which is doing the thing that you originally planned on doing, or striving towards the outcome that you initially planned for. That is intent. There's a difference between going through emotion and actioning something and having intention behind those actions. And I think that's fairly self-explanatory. This is an image that's very powerful, and I always like to come back to it. Bearing this in mind, and before we really just do a really good summary of all the things we talked about in the past few weeks in terms of how to apply it to our lives, I just want to throw a little quote your way, something that could just buzz in your mind for a little bit and use it however way you want to. What do you think about this? This is half of the quote. There is no such thing as time. There is no such thing as spare time. Realistically, it's true, because there's just time. Go. This is by Henry Rollins. It's famous author, and he's written a lot of cool insights like that, but there's no such thing as spare time. There is just time. And whether, with our own faith, we do understand how vast time really is, how we don't really know what time is. Time is a very, very complicated concept or thing. We don't even know how to describe it. But what we can acknowledge is, on a personal level, on a day-to-day level, there is no such thing as spare time. There's time, and then there's time. So having that intent with how we plan and act and execute really affects our outcomes. Because when we say we will do so and so on our spare time, we will take care of our mental health, our cognitive stability, our spirituality, our diet, our exercise on our spare time. And it's not necessarily when I have free time, like when I retire. Because even when retired, sometimes I hear people telling me they're busier than when they were working. It's more about cutting the time out to do the thing that you want to strive towards. So if you know that you have a chronic back pain that's been harming you continually, but you don't have the time to do things that can help, that have been proven to help, then perhaps it's worth taking a step back and realizing that it's not about having time to do anything. It's about carving the intent to reach your goal. And that really changes the outcomes of what you get done. It changes the quality of the effort you put in, and it changes the quality of the outcome you receive from that effort. That's the beauty of intent, and that's the beauty of understanding that there is just time. So just go do it. There is some really beautiful principle, and it's called the do something principle. It's a very commonly discussed concept among psychologists, because here's how it works. Generally speaking, we have hormones in the body that come out of the brain and they go through our blood and they stimulate other organs in our body, like above our kidneys, something called like the adrenal cortex, and it feeds back into our brain, and our eyes receive light and it gives other hormones. I'm talking a lot, but basically what I'm trying to say is one of those hormones makes us happy, and it's called serotonin, and it's called dopamine. There's hormones that make us hungry. They're called ghrelin. There's ones that make us not hungry, PYY hormone, big deal. But let's go back to that dopamine hormone. That's the kind of hormone that is secreted from the very center of the brain. It's an area called the limbic system, which is our motivational system, and it has very specific anatomical names. Nobody cares right now. What matters is dopamine. When you are rewarded for something you did, so just think back to when you were in school still many years ago and you got 100 on that exam, and that feeling. Or if you have a loved one, a child that you just became a grandparent and you felt that overjoy feeling when you heard the news. Or, watching your child graduate or graduating yourself, or any other moment that gives joy. That is dopamine. And that's the good kind. But sometimes dopamine is released in our bodies with other activities that are more short and in small bursts. Things like eating a chocolate bar releases dopamine in our bodies, and that kind of gives us that happy feeling, that feeling of, that tastes good. Smoking releases dopamine for a very short period of time. Sex releases dopamine in the body amongst many other hormones. Food, any kind of comfort food. Playing games on a computer, if you wonder why people spend so much time, it's because of that hormonal response that causes immediate burst of satisfaction and pleasure. Well, what happens when we have so many different kinds of outlets? And I just gave very basic examples, common ones. But when there are so many outlets, our cell phones, this thing right here, this bright flashing light, there's a reason why babies that are just a couple months old are glued to it. It attracts them. The TV, they can't cope with all the colors. And that's kind of, a lot of parents get involved with, if a child keeps crying and crying and crying and crying, play a show for them, play this, and it keeps them busy. It just glues them, and it gives the parents a break. But is it a healthy break? This all ties into the dopamine talk, which is, no, it's not, because we train ourselves to rely on immediate gratification, immediate, so much day to day that it depletes us. It depletes us of a natural progress into working for something like a graduation, like hearing news of a new grandchild, like getting a really big project done, like doing a project at home, like fixing up your bathroom or making a really, really elaborate dinner one day, or exercise and weight loss, or low back rehab and feeling that reward of not having back pain one day. That ends up diminishing our desire to get up and be motivated to do it, because we are so depleted in those hormones, because all those other things like watching videos on Instagram or TikTok and WhatsApp Messenger where you get a million messages per day, it doesn't matter, that's fine. But if that's the only source of satisfaction and joy and fulfillment, chemically something's happening and it's fun and it glues you to it. But in the long term, people end up being depleted. And this is just a chemical discussion. I'm not even talking about all the other components of healthy. The other areas lack, and people look back and don't even remember the million stimuli that they've had to get immediate dopamine response. But what they do remember is that they don't feel motivated. They feel like they're lacking. Let me just switch our slide here. Oh, my apologies. Here we are. So I hope that helps you just kind of put into frame the importance of delayed gratification and bringing it home to the do something principle. Sometimes we're not motivated to just get up and start doing exercise, or get up and go make a recipe, or get up and start gardening, or call a relative or friend, or go to church and pray. I don't know what it is, but what it is that you want to work on that in the long term is better for you, the only option you have right now, if you don't feel like you want to do it, is to get up and do it. Do a little bit and celebrate after. And then do that again tomorrow. And do a little bit more after tomorrow. And next week do a whole lot more. And start pushing people aside and things aside that you once did for the last 10 years, but to this day don't really see ultimate benefit from. I hope that helps. If you have any questions about the do something principle, we'll talk about it more, but right now I actually want to do something with you, and it's to put everything together. Simple ways to get started with spine care, that's neck, mid back, low back pain, simple things to do. And I'm going to explain what I'll cover here in this setting here, and what Dr. Shannon Webster will also cover with you. We're going to talk about upper extremity pain, so our arms, our torso here into our shoulder, and we're going to talk about lower extremity pain, so your legs, your hips, your knee, your ankle. Then we're going to talk about cardiovascular health and ways to get started, very simple things to do, and ways to even calculate heart rate levels of areas you want to be in if you have a heart rate monitor, or you're going to ask me, Daniel, what's a good heart rate to be at for cardiovascular exercise? Lastly, we'll talk about mindfulness again and how to practice it. And maybe we could even do like a 1-minute mock practice and see how it feels. It's going to be weird because mindfulness and prayer, for example, are two activities that are incredibly internal, but when done around others can feel uncomfortable at times, depending on the environment we're in. That's okay. We can get over that. And I think the longer you've lived, the more you get over stuff like that, so that's great. So let's get started. We're going to start with spine care. And what I'm going to do here is just shift the camera so you can see me instead. And I hope that helps a little bit. Good. Okay, so with spine care, all I want to do is just give you relevant and quick things to do that are going to help you with managing symptoms of pain or stiffness. Right, on our first day talking about the neck, we did discuss that our neck can tend to hurt mostly on the sides and back, especially when you look up and rotate from left to right. That normally hurts. Now, I'm going to just start by, let me just help you differentiate between a joint type of pain, or not even joint type pain, but two types of pain. Let's just use my left side here, for example. To you, it'll be on the right, so let's just call it the right. On my right side of the neck here, when I stretch away like this, right here starts to hurt me, and I feel that pull go all the way down my shoulder, maybe to my arm, maybe even to my fingers when I stretch away. A stretching type pain could possibly indicate muscle pain, tendon pain, ligament pain, connective tissue pain. Generally speaking, when lengthened and something hurts, oftentimes a really good way to help reduce that kind of pain is through muscle conditioning, so strengthening those muscles. And number two is, if it's hurting at that moment, maybe starting with a stretch. Stretching doesn't cure anything. It doesn't treat anything. Stretching has very low evidence for helping somebody recover from low back pain. However, stretching is a great aid for pain relief in the temporary. And if that's what you're looking for, then stretch. And I do recommend stretching at the times I think it will be helpful, as long as it's adjunct to strengthening, to learning about the pain, and just taking a deep breath and understanding a little bit more about how things get better through what kind of habits. So why don't we do a little stretch routine first for the neck for pain with pulling. So if I have pain on the left side here and I stretch and oh, it hurts me, doc, it goes all the way here and I feel it all the way up to my head, what do? So here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna take one hand, you're gonna take it right behind your back, just like that. Then you're gonna take your other hand and you're gonna take it over your head, all the way over your ears. Of course, I'm using my headphones. Put it right over your ears. Now, you're gonna breathe in, and then you're gonna breathe out. And as you breathe out, I want you to pull your head over and lean downwards on this shoulder and pull just like that until you have to breathe in again. When it's time, switch hands. Bring one hand over, the other behind. Breathe in, breathe out, and don't breathe in again. Challenge your lungs. Pull. You can move your chin down and up as you're pulling and really feel that. So that's a stretch. Now, I said we got to stretch, but we also have to strengthen. So all you have to do now, after doing that, and all you do is just pull and hold until you need to take another breath. After that, you're going to take your hand, put it over your ear. Push your head against your hand and push your hand against your head so you're just staying perfectly still. And you're going to hold that. You're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Push, 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 push. 6, 7, 8. Push, 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 push. 9, 10. You're going to switch. You're going to do 10 in this direction. Then you're going to alternate. You're going to put both hands and you're going to go like this and like this. You're going to hold 2 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 seconds. Then you're going to take your hand forward, both hands. If your shoulder hurts doing that, you could tuck in your shoulders and go like this instead. And just push down and pull your chin inwards. So look at me from the side. We're going to push down. You're going to hold that, and you're just going to tuck your chin in and just push down. Hold that for 10 seconds. And then just put your hands behind and pull against your hand and hold that for 10 seconds. Mind you, I'm pushing with my hands this way and my head's pushing this way. What this is going to do, so you're basically doing a cross or a plus sign. Push, 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 push. And that's going to really wake up a lot of these muscles. do it while your chin is tucked in. That way you can really access these muscles in the front of the neck. That can really help a lot with neck pain. Now, what happens if you're getting pain? We said this is my right side here for the picture, okay? And if you turn your head this way, it hurts on the same side. It doesn't hurt on the opposite side. Well, that can indicate that there's a little bit more deep type pain related to the joints, possibly that the joints are getting pinched. Sometimes people do this and they get pain down the arm. What do you do for something like that? A really important thing to work on, those stretches will help, but something that's really helpful is getting motion involved. So really start to work on movement of the neck. So what I usually do is I just start by rotating the neck around, feel where areas feel maybe more painful, more tight. That's okay. You might hear cracking. Maybe you're doing your neck here like this. It doesn't matter. Go left and look up, right and look up. Try to go up and down. Then take your hands right behind your neck, bend down with your elbows and look up, and then rotate this way and this way. We'll do it again. This way and this way. And then go down, curl into a ball, and come up. Dr. Shan is going to go over these with you randomly. She's going to cover the ones that you're not going to see here, like my legs and hips and whatnot. But that in itself is going to make a big difference. You know, locking your elbows forward really helps your mid-back move with your neck as well. And in general, just practice moving up and down. Really get loose, and then get your shoulders, rotate backwards, go forwards, go up and down, start, you know, like you're dancing, okay? You can get your arm this way, and this way. You know, one thing my grandfather, bless his soul, used to do every morning in bed, and we'd hear this, it shakes the whole house. I just hear him go, like this in bed. And he's just like shaking it, and he's doing the same thing with his legs. And then he goes up like this, and out. And then he goes and he stretches one arm, so he goes over. Let me try and get this in the camera. So I want you to do this with me. I want you to stick your arm out. I want you to look to the right, just bring your ear to the shoulder. You're gonna feel a huge pull down your whole arm. So push the arm out and go. Now, just rotate your hand down. If you have shoulder pain, this is a great exercise. If you have wrist pain, this is a great exercise. Okay, get some coordination here. Now, once you're here, once you find the most tension in your hand, make a fist, start to make circles. Make a fist, make an opposite circle. Go like this with your hand, go up and down, or even just a thumbs up. Thumb up, thumb down, and really, really lean over. You like my background? We're doing this in the Caribbean. One day we'll be back. One day we'll travel. Good, and you could do the other side. Even just doing that right now with me, I bet it feels better. A really good thing to do is even just squeeze your muscles, like just flex everything. Pretend you're modeling for Arnold Schwarzenegger. Or if you remember last episode, we had Bruce Lee on camera and he looked so strong. Just flex all your muscles. So flex it, flex it, flex it. And then while you're flexing everything, I'm literally just here flexing, squeezing, squeezing. Very lightly move your neck around. And then after flexing, relax the shoulders. Relax the shoulders. Just bring them up and smash them down to the ground again. Up and down. Go side to side again. Like, it warms you up. And what this will do is just get you flowing, get your blood going. It's going to get muscles contracted. It's going to move things. Remember, we were talking about movement, sign of life. Well, your muscles, each individual one loves to move. So why not give it that chance? And I like moving things in circles, for example, while squeezing, while flexing. Show that muscle and then move. And then do it with grace and be relaxed. That really makes a big difference. You know, putting your hands behind your neck here and then pulling the back up and down alone is a big deal. Dr. Webster will show you exactly what that looks like on a chair so you can get a better idea. Now, when we're talking about cardiovascular care, you know, right here, we just went over some upper extremity, lower extremity we're going to cover with Dr. Webster. But cardiovascular health is a really important one. And I just want to take a second here and help you understand how to calculate your maximum heart rate. So if you're going for a long walk and you have one of those cool watches with a heart rate monitor, or you just wanted to know what's a good heart rate to be in, well, the first thing you want to do is take 220 and subtract your age from that number. So, for example, and I didn't plan this beforehand, so I'm just going to improvise math. That's great. 220, if somebody is 80 years old, you're going to take 220, subtract 80. So what you're going to get is 140 beats per minute. 140 beats per minute is the maximum heart rate range. Take that down to 120 or so, 130, and that's a good range to be at for like really pumping the heart, making sure it beats nice and fast, getting your heart pumping and blood flowing quickly throughout the body. Take 220, subtract your age from that number, and this will be the approximate maximum heart rate that you can get to in a safe way. So if you can add plus or minus X amount of years. Now this 220 minus heart rate really matters for people over the age of 60. Now here's another tip for you. For cardiovascular health, for better outcomes, the WHO guidelines state that 180 minutes per week of leisurely activity has, remember that picture I showed you of all the green arrows pointing up of all the benefits of exercise? Those benefits. 180 minutes per week of leisurely activity. What does leisurely activity mean? Remember, no spare time, there's just time, intent, cut out the time. That's leisurely activity. Going out for a walk. Making your cooking job a little bit more fast paced. If you have like tomato paste that you usually put right in front of you because it's easy and convenient, put it up high and go grab it, or put it in the opposite side of the kitchen because you have to go there and grab it. That kind of thing alone makes huge changes and differences in your heart health, your longevity, and your ability to do more. Your ability to go on a long family walk, or, when we can, go to Niagara Falls again and just enjoy the scenery and not get too tired along the way. That makes a big difference. So for cardiovascular health, I really recommend first find out your maximum heart rate, and then you can count it, right? You can just put your pulse, fingers over your neck or right over your thumb, just above your thumb right here. It's called the radial pulse, and you can calculate it just by counting. Okay, just count how many beats you have, do it for 25 seconds, and multiply that number. Or do it for half a minute, or do it for 10 seconds. I don't care. Just do it for 60 seconds and count how many beats you get. And you'll be able to see where you're at, where you want to get up to. And the cool thing is when you exercise, you'll feel those pulses beat harder because the heart's like pounding, pow, 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 pow. Okay. One last thing we want to talk about is mindfulness. And we brought it up the other day. Mindfulness really is a important one, and lines tend to blur when we're talking about mindfulness, especially with communities that are like from church, SMSV for example, where a huge part of mindfulness is really even spirituality and prayer and meditation. Mindfulness plays the same role, and it's very important. It's very important, and I don't think that it's fair to say mindfulness, if someone says, oh, I pray every day, I don't need to have moments of mindfulness. I don't agree with that. And the reason I don't is because they're two very separate things. Just like you need to study to take an exam or study for a licensing to work, mindfulness is something like that, where it's a task or a performance you do, where even though you have moments of meditation for spirituality, it's imperative, it's important, but also being able to curb the excitation and the off-centered feeling that we talked about last week in your day-to-day life by understanding yourself, understanding your limits, understanding other people's limits. That's where mindfulness plays a very important role. learning about what things make you feel like you are not centered. And not centered means you are not currently in a state where you are most comfortable and confident to make the right decisions. Or even if you are, you understand that things have affected your decision-making skills that otherwise wouldn't have if you were centered. That was a mouthful. What I mean to say is mindfulness is a very important adjunct practice to anything else that involves meditation and prayer. Mindfulness allows us to have calm moments where we collect ourselves and understand where we stand. It allows us to have a plan. Mindfulness is a moment where we can even appreciate how our bodies feel at any given moment of time. So what I'd like to do is give you an example of what it feels like. So what we'll do is a little exercise. We're going to do a body scan. And that'll be the last thing we're going to talk about today before we move it on to Dr. Webster here. So I want you to find a safe place. If you're sitting down, that's great. If you're not, you're kind of multitasking, maybe just take a second. This really will just take over a minute and we're going to wrap up. So have a seat. I want you to have your body fully glued to whatever area you're sitting on. That means your bum is sitting all the way back. Your feet are flat on the ground and your hands are just very gently resting on your lap or on the chair next to you. Even if you have your arms crossed and you're dropping it, as long as you're able to feel like you can completely trust the surface that you are on. So now just close your eyes and I want you to take a deep breath in for 5 seconds and you're going to breathe out for 8 seconds. I'm going to guide it for you. So we're going to count. Ready? Breathe in, inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I just want you to maintain that. Inhale, and in 5 seconds, exhale. And just maintain that. I'm going to keep talking. The next thing I want you to do is place one hand on your belly and put one hand on your chest. And try and feel your belly breathe more than your chest. So feel your belly expand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now control the exhale. 8, 7, 6, 5. You feel your stomach getting smaller. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now keep repeating that. As you keep breathing, I want you to picture your feet. You can fully feel both of them, your big toe going into your smaller toes. Just notice them, acknowledge that they're there or not. Feel how relaxed they feel. They're just heavy on the ground. Weight is fully trusting of the surface. Into your ankles, the bottom of your feet, your heel, it's all relaxed. Goes up to your calf muscles, the back of your leg, your shins, up to your knee. It just feels calm and relaxed. If there's any tension, it's gone. Just keep breathing and feel your belly get big and small. Your thighs, your quadricep muscles, those thigh muscles, the back of your leg, going up to the small of your low back where your tailbone is. You just feel warmth kind of washing from your thigh to your low back and back to your thigh to your low back. It's just warm and calm. Now going from your sacrum, where your tailbone is, you feel that warmth. Maybe the color of the warmth is yellow. And that warmth just washes up the back of your spine, up to your shoulders, and out of your arms, passes through your elbows into your fingertips. And then it comes back through your fingertips. Just as it goes through, that washing warmth just relaxes every muscle. Back up to your shoulder, down your spine and into your tailbone, and it releases. Keep breathing. You still feel the expansion and contraction of your belly. 5 seconds in, 8 seconds out. Your eyebrows are fully relaxed, peaceful. You're not scrunching that muscle together. Everything's just melting. Your jaw is not clenched, and your neck just feels fully weighted on the chair you're sitting on. Just appreciate that feeling, and if you practiced it with me, I'm really happy. If you didn't, then please try it. And if you want to find somebody to help you do that, just type on YouTube or Google guided meditation or body scan. And this has nothing to do with any other kind of sect of meditation or mindfulness. It has nothing to do with any kind of spirituality. All it has to do with is your own physical understanding of your body and finding that baseline, that center, and being able to calm and now think clearly about the next steps you want to take. It helps with pain, and there's a lot of evidence to show that, to back it up, that it helps with treatment of pain. I've helped people get through some very serious chronic type pain just through talking them through it. So give it a shot. So I wanted to thank you all. It's been an absolute pleasure and a blessing to have this time with you and to have the time. I know an hour is a long ask. It's a long time, and I really, really thank you for giving me this chance and giving Dr. Shannon a chance. She's Ansi standing right next to me warming up, and we look forward to doing more of these. If you like these, please let us know what more you'd like to see or how you'd like to see it improve. This is our first time doing a presentation format like this. Maybe we could change it, and maybe it can be in person one day in the future. We really hope we can. Anyway, we love you guys, and we'll see you soon. Give us about 5 to 10 minutes. We're going to set up our camera angles for Dr. Webster here to start exercising with you. In the meantime, go get some water, go get your exercise gear, clear out the space, and get psyched up. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.